Now at 6, a man arrested in connection with a Jasper County murder faces charges in the Kansas City area. Plus,
OSHA announces it's reevaluating its proposed regulations for fire departments that would have big impacts on those made up of volunteers. I'm Samantha Walker, and I'll have that story coming up.
And authorities in southwest Missouri try to find the driver of an SUV following a Sunday night crash.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
One of 2 brothers connected to the murder of a man in Jasper County, Missouri is now formally charged with violent crimes in the Kansas City area. This is KOAM News at 6. I'm Dow Quick. Authorities said the suspects are 2 illegal immigrants from Honduras, Jose Cantarero Benitez and Adin Aman Cantarero Benitez. Investigators believe they were headed to Oklahoma to buy meth, but got stranded in Joplin and were out of money. Authorities believe they then fatally shot 63-year-old Oklahoma resident Jesse Gilmore at the Road Ranger gas station on Joplin's South Prigmore Avenue and stole his car. Investigators believe they disposed of the body in a ditch alongside Interstate 44. The 2 brothers were later arrested for separate crimes not related to the Jasper County murder in Kansas City and in Independence, Missouri. Jose Benitez today made his first court appearance in Jackson County, Missouri, for a shooting and attempted carjacking there. The charges include first-degree assault, vehicle hijacking, and armed criminal action. At last report, the victim in that case, a woman, was in critical condition. In a separate case, he's also accused of pistol whipping a woman in Kansas City, Missouri. The Jasper County Prosecutor's Office had already filed charges against Adin Benitez, including first-degree murder, robbery, and abandonment of a corpse. The Jasper County Sheriff's Office expects additional charges against Jose Benitez as well. Much cooler weather out there lately. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy.
Yeah, of course, we had a strong cold front that rolled through late yesterday, so it took us from near record highs late last week into the weekend to much, much cooler. 64 in Joplin, Pittsburgh sitting at 63, and across the board, just about everybody low to mid to upper 60s, which is below where we should be for this time of the year. We've had the rain today, periods of showers, especially along the I-44 corridor and points south. And this is where we're seeing it right now, really from about Pineville up through Neosho over towards Stockton Lake. This will wind down over the next few hours, and then it looks like later on tonight we'll have some fog building in. Heaviest rain today all on the Missouri side. A lot of areas 1 to 2 inches of rain. We even have more rain in the forecast. We're going to look at that here in just a bit.
All right, we'll catch you in a few. The investigation continues following an overnight SUV crash on Gum Road in Joplin. Troopers say a pickup left the road, taking out fence posts and ramped a driveway where it overturned. People who came upon the crash say they could not find a driver. Last report, troopers were still investigating who was driving that pickup. OSHA says they're reevaluating proposed regulations that would impact fire departments. KOAM Samantha Walker explains why some departments and state officials are speaking out against the proposed rules.
It's really crucial for the volunteer fire services to be able to continue to operate.
Earlier this year, OSHA released its proposed regulations that would impact fire departments, especially those made up of volunteers. The regulations could have big financial impacts on departments, such as the rule that would disallow trucks over 15 years old. For fire chiefs like John Lilburn, the proposal is concerning.
The citizens of my area would have to make a decision if they wanted to continue to have fire protection. If we wanted to have fire protection and meet those standards, our budget would have to go from, like I said, roughly $20,000 to over $150,000, which is going to put a much more strong burden on the taxpayers.
And it's not just fire departments that have concerns. Kansas state representatives are also speaking out about the impacts these regulations could have. In August, Kansas Senator Jerry Moran called on the Department of Labor to exclude volunteer fire departments like Galesburg from the proposal. Now OSHA says they're reevaluating the regulations and are considering doing just that. Moran has released a statement following OSHA's announcement. He says he believes it's a great first step and encourages others to continue speaking out on the proposal. Lilburn says that's exactly what he plans to do.
I am speaking out against this because I want to make sure that we still have a future for the fire service in the 4 states, in rural America, because I really see this as a move to eliminate some of the rural departments out there.
He says even if OSHA exempts completely volunteer departments, there are still concerns not being fully addressed.
They're not addressing rural departments. They're also not addressing departments such as the Girard Fire Department. Girard has a full-time person on duty, and then the rest of their staff is made up with volunteers. So they're not addressing, does the full-time staff have to meet the requirements but the part-time staff doesn't, or the volunteer staff doesn't? Those things are, there's no answers to those questions.
For now, he plans on continuing to follow what OSHA is planning with its proposal. Reporting in Galesburg, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
OSHA is encouraging those impacted by the regulations to speak out at their public rulemaking hearing starting on November 12th. 2 of the hottest high school softball teams battle it out this afternoon. Brock Baldridge has that story for us later in sports. But up first, Native American organizations in northeastern Oklahoma team up to host a series of voter registration events.
To win big, Honda.
Ogapa Communications is collaborating with other Native organizations to make sure Native American voters have their voices heard in the upcoming election. KOAM's Melissa Alexis has more.
Their vote counts, and so it doesn't matter which party you are, everybody should vote. You know, you don't have a right to complain if you don't get out and vote.
Ogapa Communications in Quapaw is hosting Native voter registration events through a collaboration with the United Indian Nations of Oklahoma and other groups. And their first stop is at the Intertribal Council in Miami. They want to empower Native Americans to use their voice and boost voter turnout.
We ask them to look around, view the candidates, see if they help our tribal folks. You know, we want to vote for people who help us and have an interest in what the tribes and nations in this area need.
In Oklahoma, you know, we're 50th in the nation of voters getting to the polls. 50th. When we're at these numbers, it's concerning. It's concerning to the tribes, it's concerning to the tribal citizens.
They're also helping people check if they're registered. This is especially important because the governor of Oklahoma announced that more than 400,000 Oklahomans have been deleted from voting registration rolls, including inactive voters.
Usually it's done in the spring. It was done, 3 weeks before. Voter registration ends October 11th.
The organizations want to avoid an issue where someone realizes too late that they're unregistered to vote.
These are something very important that our grandparents fought for, and we need to utilize them.
The organizations want to make sure Native American voices are heard and that the community does their research on candidates that protect tribal sovereignty. Reporting in Miami, Melissa Alexis, KOAM News.
Eligible voters can also register to vote online or at the local tag office. One big issue this election season is immigration and border security. We talked with the Republican and Democratic candidates for U.S. Congressional District 2 of Kansas to get their thoughts. Apparently we're having some technical difficulties there. If we don't have that, we'll try to have that for you tonight on KOAM News at 10 or a little bit later in this newscast. We did talk with the candidates on a number of issues, and you can see those complete unedited interviews on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. A little bit later, MSSU looks to get back on its feet after a rocky start to its football season. Brock's going to have details coming up in sports.
Plus, we have showers rolling out of the region, but more rain in the forecast. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, much cooler day outside for us today. Also some rain. We've been needing the rain very badly over the past few weeks. And most of us over the past 3 days have picked up some rain, which is great. An inch at the Joplin Airport today. with some pockets of moderate to heavy rain for the year. About 26.5, still well below for where we should be for this time of the year, over 8 inches. Nice shot, Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex. We are looking northeast, very gloomy. Downtown out there with these showers kind of lifting right along that I-44 corridor where you see the yellows and a little red that we had earlier today. Those were those pockets of moderate to heavy rain. As of right now, just some light showers, Stockton Lake to Mount Vernon, back toward Neosho, Pineville. Still a few light little showers in Drizzle, Joplin, and also Carthage. And we're going to see this over the next couple hours. Then the clouds will start to break for us a little bit later on tonight as temperatures slowly drop back, but most of the accumulating rain is pretty much gone. Cloudy skies, temps holding into lower 60s. Also with light winds tonight, the moisture on the ground, most likely going to get some fog. We'll see those visibilities dropping to about a quarter of a mile a little bit later on tonight. 62 in Stockton, 67 in Neosho, 66 at Grand Lake. Neodache sitting at 63. It's cloudy, roads are wet, 64 in Joplin. Northerly winds at about 5 to 10. And if we go through the overnight hours for us tonight, we are looking better because we're going to really clear up. But then we're going to focus our attention on what's going on across the Gulf of Mexico. Here is our tropical depression, soon to be Hurricane Helene, which is going to track northwest, become a tropical storm, strengthen, category 1, strong 2, maybe low 3, and make landfall here in about 72 hours or so. Now watch this moisture kind of lifts up into the eastern third of the country, but notice we're getting some rain back here at home. And here's the reason why. Here's our upper level low right now. Watch our tropical system. They kind of slingshot around each other as we get into later this week. So the actual disturbance stays across Carolinas, but that moisture flows back in to the area of low pressure where we are. So the end return is we get a little bit of rain back in the forecast. Let's look at, here's late Thursday, showers rotating back in. On Friday, cloudy skies, on and off showers, especially in our southern counties. And then even heading into the weekend, we're going to have periods of showers on Saturday lasting into Sunday. So potential rainfall later this week. It's not going to be super heavy, but a lot of areas can pick up a half an inch, maybe upwards to an inch, which would be nice to see. All right, until then, of course, we're going to be drying out. As we go through the overnight hours tonight, we'll drop back upper 50s. We are going to have a lot of clouds, some light little showers that rotate in during the afternoon, very hit and miss into tomorrow evening, and then push right out of the region by the time we get into Tuesday night. And these are going to be very scattered showers. 76 on your Tuesday, 78 Wednesday. Those better rain chances, especially on Friday, but look at these temps. 60s and 70s really through the stretch.
Fall really came on quickly.
Yeah, it feels good out.
All of a sudden, it feels great. Thanks, Doug. We now have those comments from the U.S. congressional candidates from the 2nd District of Kansas talking about immigration.
My own view is that American immigration policy ought to favor the interests of the United States, the interests of Americans. That ought to be the dominant factor as we figure out who comes, goes, and how many. And so I think we have to look at those places in our economy where there are needs that immigrants can fill today. That may be some low-skilled jobs or agricultural jobs. It may be some very high-skilled jobs with particular skills. But that's a discussion I don't think we should try to get to until we secure the border.
Immigration is a very difficult issue, but I believe that the way that I speak about it is one that says of course we want to welcome the stranger. Old Testament. It said we want to welcome the stranger 52 times in the Old Testament. But we need borders. We have to have some rule of law. So I have been right there trying to speak to both sides and begging them, stop using this as a political football. It's hurting our country.
Still ahead, post-game reaction from the Kansas City Chiefs after the team's big win last night, and the winner of this week's high school football performance of the week. Brock Baldridge brings us those stories and more up next.
Well, we're about halfway through the high school softball regular season in Missouri. The Webb City Cardinals have won the best records in the COC Conference, and tonight they face a Nevada team who's undefeated in the Big 8 Conference. A huge non-conference softball matchup between the Nevada Tigers and the Webb City Cardinals. This game was originally scheduled to be played in Nevada this afternoon, but after a big downpour of rain, this game was moved over to Webb City on the turf field. This game is currently in progress. We'll have highlights from that game right here tonight at 10. Meanwhile, next door in the side at the Cardinal Dome, a rematch of last year's district championship game between the Mount Vernon Mountaineers and the Webb City Cardinals. Both teams won their last two matchups. We'll have highlights from that one as well. Check back here for that tonight at 10. Well, the Missouri Southern football team is 0-4 after being shut out last week against Northwest Missouri State. The Lions hit the road for a non-conference matchup facing Northeastern State. Here's what head coach Atiba Bradley had to say during the team's weekly press conference.
Yeah, guys, I'm frustrated. We're sitting at 0-4. I think at times we've played winning football, but we've also played some really good teams. And so, you know, when the results don't match the process, it's extremely frustrating. But make no mistake about it, we're down, but we're not out. The season isn't over. We're not just gonna, you know, ship it in and just be done with the season and call it a wash. And so the message to the team has been that.
The Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Atlanta Falcons 22-17 on Sunday Night Football. The Chiefs improved to 3-0 on the season. However, head coach Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes said after the game that there's still more work to be done.
We need to do a better job offensively on that last drive and not put the defense in that position. So, but we stepped up on the defensive side and did a nice job of holding them out of there. We got a ton of things to work on, so we'll work on that when we get back. So it's a normal week for us.
We haven't played good. I mean, really all three games. We've been able to win. I mean, that speaks to the character of the team, the grit, how we've been in these situations before. But I'll speak especially offensively, and myself, I feel like I haven't played very well. And that's not a stats thing. I just feel like I'm missing opportunities whenever they're out there and not throwing the ball in the exact spot I want it to be at. So it's about me getting back to my fundamentals, putting our guys in the right position, and then we got to execute at a higher level offensively. If teams are going to make us drive the field, we have to prove that we're able to do that. And I'm sure we'll get a lot of the same this next week with the Chargers.
Well, we counted the votes and on our press box show over on Fox 14, and this week's performance of the week is Mount Vernon. The Mountaineers went on the road to beat an East Newton team who's had a big turnaround season thus far. Mount Vernon won that game 48-6. To vote on next week's performance of the week, just head over to koamnewsnow.com/vote. On that, you look for sports. We're back with more news after this.
Seasonal employees are extremely important. We completely depend on them to get through the busy season and get all of our orders out.
We go into
Here's a look at what's coming up on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 tonight. We're going to have more on those efforts from Native American groups in Oklahoma to host a series of voter registration events. And spooky season in the 4 states brings employment opportunities and community benefits. Hope you join us for those stories. A lot more, of course. It's coming up tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox. Today's weather with the KOAM Skywatch weather app. Get severe weather updates sent straight to your phone. It's free of charge. You'll find it in the Apple App Store, Google Play Store, the KOAM Skywatch weather app. Right now, the weather looking pretty good because it's cooler, which we've needed, and it's wetter, which we need as well.
And we're still going to have a few light little showers over the next few hours, and then patchy fog builds in later on tonight. Could get some additional showers late tomorrow evening, but 76 Tuesday, 78 on Wednesday, looking pretty good.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here for KOAM News at 10. Let's make it a great evening.